Hello everyone, this is Korda giving you a shoutcast between Kiwikaki or Root Kiwikaki and Liquid TLO, this time on Scrap Station. Liquid TLO spawning as the blue Zerg player over here at the 12 o'clock position, meanwhile Root Kiwikaki spawning over here as the red Protoss. So Protoss versus Zerg here on Scrap Station. Looking forward to this matchup. This game was taken from MLG Dallas, which happened over the weekend. What weekend was it? It was the weekend of the 7th. So 5th, 6th, and 7th of November was MLG Dallas, and a lot of people just casting a lot of these games as for some reason I cannot get a hold of any of the GSL tournaments. I believe the GSL is really selective and very secretive about their tournaments and their replays. Doesn't want to go ahead and give them out even a month or so after their tournaments. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll get to see season 1 for all of those who did not buy any of the channels. Right now we have an overlord coming in from TLO. Pretty much a standard opening here on Scrap Station. You can see TLO deciding to go more of an economic build so far. We'll see if he tries to get a spawning pool or if he goes for an early hatchery. There was some early scouting coming in from Kiwikaki, so Kiwikaki getting this very early probe into this base, trying to figure out what exactly is going on and trying to see what exactly TLO is going to be doing. TLO is going to be setting up, it looks like a spawning pool over in this direction. A little bit curious positioning on the spawning pool, as TLO placing the spawning pool at the edge of his creep, and then it will make it a little bit more difficult to defend, as any Zerglings on the other side of the spawning pool will not be able to get that movement speed bonus. We now see a drone now making its way out in order to do some scouting, and it looked like Kiwikaki thought that there was going to be perhaps a hatchery attempt. Instead, that is not the case, and now we see a photon cannon being placed down here. So TLO does see that one photon cannon in this position, and now will be forced to pull back. However, TLO setting up a hatchery in this position instead. So TLO, being the oddball Zerg player that he is, setting up a hatchery into this location. We should see a canceling of this photon cannon. Yeah, there we go, canceling that photon cannon, trying to recollect all those minerals. And now we see another pylon coming in here. What TLO can do, if I think just laugh out loud, is if TLO cancels this one hatchery, oh, he does not see this pylon, but if he did cancel this hatchery, he would be able to regain sight onto that pylon over there. And we now see TLO in fact sees that there is only a pylon there and no cannon. So Zerglings now making their way over towards this one pylon. Pylon will get taken down, and now we see two photon cannons trying to be warped in as well. Zerglings will be able to take down, no, not trying to take down, now going after some of those other probes as well. Probe will get taken down, and now going after those photon cannons, and it looked like Kiwikaki is going to be behind in a significant way. He will have lost both of these photon cannons. Yeah, both photon cannons were canceled, so losing some of those minerals, and now losing two pylons. So you will quickly see Kiwikaki now nearing and being supply locked, sitting at 18/26. And once this pylon goes down, he is now, I believe, 18/18, and now he is supply locked, unable to train any additional units. You can see this one pro wants to be trained, but he's just currently stuck in limbo of that nexus. We now have the hatchery near completed, and we should be getting a queen up in just a moment. Overlords now making their way into this location here, and now Kiwikaki in a little bit in trouble here. He has already lost 200 minerals in terms of resources. Oh, sorry, 700 in resources. Not quite sure what he possibly could have lost in terms of 700 minerals. Perhaps every single time a photon cannon was canceled, and this actual calculation is wrong. So we now see one Stargate now being built over here on this high ground. Very interesting positioning on this Stargate. Perhaps to get some void rays. Now those Zerglings will continue to peck away at this destructible debris. We have one stalker. That stalker will be able to just hide over in this position and then just do some long distance firing, trying to take down any of those Zerglings. So Zerglings now taking some damage there, and these destructible rocks or the debris will be there for quite some time. Destructible debris has 3 armor, and that's ultimately is what protected Kiwikaki from this attack. A little bit curious as to why Kiwikaki doesn't move this stalker up onto this high ground. He is able to see all of these Zerglings in this position here, and now we see another pylon and TLO trying to do some scouting. Currently Kiwikaki sitting at 28/34 food, and now Roach is being moved out. Roach is very strong on Scrap Station. When you already have a lot of creep, the creep already set up in the center of the map, so those Roaches will be able to move out very quickly. We do see one pylon being built over here. and those roaches will be able to deal damage towards that destructible debris without that stalker being able to fire back. Finally getting up onto that high ground and now shooting onto that low ground to deal damage towards those roaches. Roaches taking a couple pop shots there and now getting a Void Ray. So one Void Ray now in the air, and now he does see that Void Ray. So that Void Ray able to charge up and get some damage dealt across those units there. And now one roach already down, a second roach now taking some damage as well, as that Void Ray was able to move and attack and deal more damage towards those roaches. So two roaches now quickly getting taken down, another roach now trying to come in, and now we finally see some Spore Crawlers coming in. So Spore Crawler and a Queen, the only anti-air defense, as a second Queen now currently being trained. This Queen trying to take down this Void Ray. Void Ray may be able to get a little bit more of a lead, and now that Void Ray able to get this one Queen down to 50 hit points, and that will be just enough to take down that Queen, and now perhaps go after that Spore Crawler. Spore Crawler already taking a fair amount of damage. This one Void Ray needs to pull back, however it may get shot down. Oh, barely out of range, and it cannot try to get within range, otherwise it will get shot down. A new Queen comes in and shoots down the Void Ray. So very nicely done by TLO. TLO shooting down one of those Void Rays, and a second Spore Crawler, third Spore Crawler now being placed down. This Void Ray down to 16 hit points. Will it be enough? 7 hit points. There it goes, as now we see some roaches trying to take down these rocks over here. The Stalker on that high ground will not be able to do all too much. However, with a very, very nice pylon here, this pylon will block any Zerglings and roaches from trying to run into this position. We do have some photon cannons, one photon cannon and one Stalker on that high ground. So that Stalker will be able to deal a significant amount of damage, and then a Sentry as well. So that Sentry may be able to get off a one force field and trap those units. In comes the Void Ray. Void Ray now trying to deal damage over here. We do see that photon cannon also able to get off a lot of free kills there, as that Void Ray continuing to just follow that one roach. Roach only movement speed of 2.25, so the same as the movement speed of that Void Ray, and able to deal damage. Both of these creep tumors will get shot down and destroyed, so no additional creep extending here. One Void Ray now in the air trying to put in more pressure production wise. We now see a change in the Hydralisk by TLO, so TLO getting Hydralisk instead. And now with these Hydralisks, we'll be able to deal a significant amount of damage towards those Void Rays. And now we can see that one Hydralisk trying to shoot down this Void Ray here. Void Ray is pretty much going to get shot down, however, as this new Void Ray comes in. So a new Void Ray now trying to come in, trying to deal more damage as well. Hydralisk deciding to back off. However, there are just going to be simply too many units as those Hydralisks are able to move and attack. Kiwikaki trying to save that Void Ray by flying it over into space and able to save that one Void Ray there. Now we see that the Stargate no longer producing any additional units at this time, and now Creep Tumor is also being laid down as well. Zerglings now trying to make a run for it. Perhaps they'll be able to deal some amount of damage, as this one set of rocks over here down to 108 hit points. These Void Rays need to be very, very careful, trying to hide instead in the vents, and now trying to back off once again. The destructible rocks down to 108 implants. Like I said earlier, will it be enough? There is a second pylon being positioned here, and now a Nexus being placed down by Kiwikaki. Production wise or income wise, you can see both sides fairly even in terms of harvester count. However, Liquid TLO, because he's mining off of more mineral patches, able to get more and more. We now see this one Void Ray, not quite sure what that Void Ray is doing. It's getting himself killed, and down it goes. The Void Ray should have try to hover over here onto this high ground instead and use that high ground advantage, and now taking down its own destructible rocks. Not quite sure what that was about. Perhaps in order to gain sight, that we do see some Hydralisks there, and now we see a lot of Stalkers here, so we'll be able to warp in units onto this low ground. Has a little bit of protection here as more units continue to warp in as well. So we have one warp gate here, we have one photon cannon and a forge offering a little bit of protection. In comes one Overlord. Overlord will get shot down. Down it goes. But it was able to get some scouting done. Able to see that this Nexus is in place, and a lot of probes down into this location as well. Army-wise, 1450 for Kiwikaki. Liquid TLO sitting at 1325. However, we are now getting into a lot of Zergling play, and also getting the Roach movement upgrade. So those Roaches will be swarming out across the map very, very quickly as TLO takes his third base, transferring some drones from his main into that third location. And also in comes an infestation pit. So that infestation pit most likely for fungal growth. Fungal growth, a very, very strong ability that pretty much nullifies Stalker, Blink, and any high mobility unit. So those Stalkers now trying to move out. I do not see any observers in play, and that's going to be a problem. Without any observers, this whole entire creep highway will be there for quite some time. Kiwikaki does not want to move out, does not want to engage, does want to take down a free Overlord there. Down it goes. Hydralisk now quickly coming in and getting taken down once again. Zerglings want to swarm. Zerglings have the level 1 weapons upgrade, as now roaches are also being trained, the pathogen glands being researched as well by that infestation pit, and we should be seeing a lot of infestors in just a moment. And I believe, what's the build time on... What's the build time on Infestor? Infestor build time is 50. So a 50 build time there, and we should start seeing some queens now as those, some infestors now, as those infestors will naturally have the starting plus 25 energy, allowing for instantaneous fungal growth. One probe over here, perhaps a pylon and a photon cannon here to offer a little bit of detection, will be able to clear out a lot of these creep tumors and then try to cause this creep high rate to recede. We now see a lot of creep tumors and TLO just spreading creep across the map, pretty much controlling 2/3 of this, and now also able to get a contaminate on this forge towards the end of that contamination, and now the forge finally able to get that level 1 weapons research once again. Kiwikaki cannot stay in this space. If he just continues to stay in this space, he will be far behind, as TLO will be able to macro up an even stronger and stronger army. We do see some creep tumors out. One probe now trying to set up an expansion here, but will not be able to. As Zerglings quickly come in, we finally see an observer in the air able to start destroying this creep highway. And as that creep highway is destroyed, we now see a lot of overseers. So TLO going for perhaps mass overseers and getting some more contaminate off onto that forge. That forge has been trying to research the level 1 research for quite some time. Force fields now coming into play. Nicely done. Fungal growth roaches, however, able to push around. And now a lot of force fields. So a lot of those roaches are unable to engage. Stalker's able to continue to this fight once again. Zerglings now able to get us around. And now as this force field starts to fall, those roaches are simply going to be able to just walk all over Kiwikaki's army. Kiwikaki trying to retreat, trying to pull back. It does not look like he'll be able to. A queen also joining in on that fight in order to get some transfusion. A high ground photon cannon offering as much defense as possible. However, Overlord's now offering sight, and it looks as though Kiwikaki's 2 stalkers will not be enough. We have infestors down over here, queens coming in as well, and no fungal growth and anywhere to be seen because of energy. However, the mass roaches and now infested Terrans being spawned. Those infested Terrans will have no upgrades, so just 0/0 upgrades, dealing 8 damage against those probes there. Probes getting shot down, and more roaches continue to swarm in. Roaches just taking down all of these stalkers one by one, and Kiwikaki says GG. So good game here by Kiwikaki versus TLO. TLO opening up, doing a fast expansion over here at what is normally the 3rd base, and that really gave him a strong economic advantage. Kiwikaki was trying to do a forge cannon deny on the expansion, built a pylon here, built a pylon here as well, was also lost a couple cannons as well, and had nothing to really show for it, so that really put him behind. So TLO was then able to just focus on his macro. He knew that because Kiwikaki was supply locked, he could power drone for a little bit of time and get a superb economy going, and then simply run Kiwikaki over. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Kiwikaki and TLO from MLG Dallas here on Scrap Station.